Hey everybody, guess what time it is? That's right, it's times for songs and stories for hard hitting times. And we're ready? All right, let's try it. Hup. Hey! I'm remembering the days, for I went away, way back in the hills of old Vermont. And the orchard on the hill, I think I see it still, way back in the hills of old Vermont. For tonight I long to be where the catamount run free, and the rattlesnake can lie out in the sun, near the voices of the loons, where the apple blossoms bloom, way back in the hills of old Vermont. There used to be a barn near the old fishing pond, way back in the hills of old Vermont. So many fields of hay, now gone with yesterday, way back in the hills of old Vermont. For tonight I long to be where the catamount run free, and the rattlesnake can lie out in the sun, near the voices of the loons, when the apple blossoms bloom, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Well, everything has changed, nothing stays the same, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Like the old brown panther's roar, you won't hear that no more, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Tonight I long to be where the catamount run free, and the rattlesnake can lie out in the sun, near the voices of the loons, when the apple blossoms bloom, way back in the hills of old Vermont. But when the rains came down and flooded many towns, way back in the hills of old Vermont, all the neighbors lent a hand for the loving of the land, way back in the hills of old Vermont. For tonight I long to be where the catamount run free, and the rattlesnake can lie out in the sun, near the voices of the loons, when the apple blossoms bloom, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Hi, this is Rik Palieri right here in the hills of old Vermont. And I'm glad to be here today with you folks. And I hope that some folks are out there. Mariana says it sounds good. And Jamie Johnson all the way from Arizona it sounds great in Arizona. And Bobby Forrest, good to see you in the progress and healing. And Jody Lamont. Hi Rick, I'm late. We'll finish later. Great as always. And yeah, it's great to be here. As you could tell, I'm still healing a bit. I can almost lift my hand up, 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 up. I'm getting better. I'm getting better, folks. So still not quite there yet. So my hand is a little bit slippery here and there. But I thought that we could have some fun today and tell you I have a special story that I'm going to tell you a little bit later that involves this character here. Can you see that there? We'll talk about her in a little bit. You know, this is on my ukulele. This is a special ukulele. As you can see, it's this one was made by Dave of England, and he is the bearer of the jigs and protector of the patterns of Zemitis. This is when Tony Zemitis passed away. He left his jigs and stuff in the care of Dave of England so that Dave could carry on and build a few things. And so Dave built me this nice ukulele, and it looks like a miniature of a guitar I once had that I sold. Boy, so let me tell you, folks. Sometimes you sell something, and you get a fair amount of money for it, and then somebody else sells something, and boy, they get a lot of money for it. But it's all good, you know. It's all good because I got what I wanted, and that next person, you know, just took his wheelbarrow to the bank. So I'm going to do that in a little bit, and I'm going to see if I can. I don't know. What? You feel like dancing? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't played this in a while, Truffles. Yes, folks, I am a silly guy. Now I gotta watch my hand. I can't take it. But you see, now did you see that? That was pretty cool. I just was able to take that right off. I didn't have to take off my hat at all. And this is that new harmonica holder, and it's from this company here. What is it called? Here, it's called Farmer Foot Drums, and this is this kind of a interesting harmonica. Now, what was interesting about it here is you don't have to deal with, you know, plugging it in. It has a magnet. See, there's a magnet right there, and it just fits right on. And so you could slip any kind of harmonica on, as long as it has some metal on it so that it connects. But you know, this Farmer's Foot Drums is where this thing is from, and it's pretty cool. And this one they have one that's a lot more expensive, but this one is not too expensive, and you can adjust it in all kinds of ways. So, you know, I don't know, it's kind of fun to have that. I brought along my flute. I've been sort of playing the flute a little bit. I'm not sure. This is since I'm talking about all these makers of things. This one is made by Island Ray, who lives over in Florida, and he's a great flute maker. And this is that double-barreled kind of new age flute, so that you can play it with or you can play with the two barrels. And the fun thing about these kind of flutes is that you just make up something. You make up a melody. You make up a simple melody. me. I wasn't supposed to lift my arm like that. No, Rick, you're not supposed to lift your arm that high. Well, you can see I am getting better, folks, and so I can lift that arm a little bit higher. And so I wanted to. I'm going to play the banjo in a little bit, but we wanted to talk about that story since we have some time here. So let's take a look at that. That, can you see it there? What do you think it is? That's right. Let me see if anybody guessed. Okay. Rhonda Scott Merrick. I don't know if you can guess what it is. All right. What's at the top there? Okay. There she is. That's right. It's a mermaid. And the story that I'm going to tell you today is about a mermaid, a special mermaid. Now, I'm pulling out my old book. This is the fancy dancy copy that Mariana made me all bound in her bindery. And this is a kind of story that I made up based on old stories. You know, that's how stories are. You know, you hear a story and then you kind of enrich it a little bit. And that's what I did with this story here. And if you go into the capital of Poland, or Warsaw, we call it Warsaw, you'll see this monument of a mermaid, Sirena, you know, and she is the guardian of the city. And her name is Warszawa, or Shava is her name, but the story that I'm going to read is Warszawa, because that's what people in Poland call Warsaw. They call it Warszawa. So it's named after a mermaid story. So I'll try to share this with you. So this is the legend of the Warsaw mermaid, and it's based on old tales. Long ago, there lived a beautiful mermaid named Shava. She had deep green eyes, long blonde hair, green scales, a leathery tail, fins, and the voice of an angel. She was said to live in a palace made of amber, deep down in the Baltic Sea. One day, she swam down the mighty Wisła River, sat on a large rock, and sang as she combed her silky hair. Two poor peasants saw this lovely creature and thought that they should try to capture her and bring her back to the king, for there would surely be a large purse of gold for a gift as wondrous as a mermaid. Knowing that the mermaid's voice might entrance them, they stuffed beeswax into their ears so that they could not hear her, then threw a large net over the rock and caught their prize. As they had a long way to travel to reach the king's castle, they looked for a place where they might be able to rest for the night. They came across a little house with a barn right alongside the river. The house was owned by a young fisherman named Vash. The fisherman had just finished docking his boat when he saw the two peasants approaching him and asked about lodging for the night. When he spotted the unusual fish they were carrying in their net, Vash asked with wonder, "Now, what kind of fish is that?" The two peasants told Vash about their prize mermaid and asked him if he wanted to see her. As one of the peasants pulled the netting away from the mermaid's face, tiny iridescent tears flowed down from her emerald green eyes. As Vash looked upon the helpless mermaid, his heart broke, and he immediately fell in love with her. As the two scoundrels boasted that they were going to take her to the king and collect this handsome reward, Vash was already thinking of how he could outwit them and help out this young girl. As everyone made plans for a good night's sleep, Vash offered to stand guard over the barn. The two peasants plugged up their ears and gave fisherman a lump of wax to fill his ears, for they knew without stuffing his ears that he might be enchanted by her seductive singing. While the two peasants slept, the mermaid sang to the young fisherman who watched her from outside the barn. In her song, Java begged him for her freedom. Vash could not resist her haunting melody and released her from the net and carried her to the river. As Shava swam away, she cried to Vash, I have tried to live with the people of the land, but they have disappointed me. But you, Vash, you saved me and returned me to my home in the sea. Though I must leave now, I will return whenever your home is threatened, and if needed, will defend it with my own sword and shield. She pointed up to a bank of land up the river. Using her powers to see into the future, she said, I can see that someday they will build a great city here on the banks of this river, and it will be remembered by your courage and bravery and my love for Poland by giving this town our name. And then she swam away. Years later, just as the mermaid had predicted, a great city was built, and it did bear their names, Warsaw. So that's the story about Warsaw. So you can see in these Eastern European lands that they have a lot of folk tales and beautiful stories. And, you know, in Ukraine, too, they have all these wonderful folk tales that the bravery of the people is out just unbelievable. In the middle of this terrible war, you can see there are musicians out there in the middle of all the buildings that have fallen down, and they're playing their instruments. The soldiers are even picking up instruments when they can and playing as people dance around. People in the bomb shelters are singing to one another because, you know, that's what we do when things get really, really difficult, like during the beginning of this pandemic, when there was nothing, you know, you couldn't go outside. Remember that time? We were all washing our vegetables, not getting our mail. We were afraid to go see our neighbor. Well, that was the time when everybody started using the Zoom to start singing songs. Even if they were not a great singer or a professional musician, they started making music. They reached out to each other with music. They serenaded each other from balconies and used music as that tool to gather us all together. And that's one of the things that that we're still doing today. You know, we're not through this. Remember, the reason I've been doing this this little radio program is Jim Lockridge from the Radiator over in Burlington wanted me to do this, to talk to everyone, to try to calm people down, to entertain you, to make you laugh during these times. And as much as I'd like to say that, you know, that all of the tragedy of this virus is through, not yet, folks. We got to be careful still. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends, wonderful musicians, who stayed in their houses, didn't go out and play. They just used their Zoom. Then they went out and they played a couple of shows and they came down with COVID. That's right. So we have to still be careful and watch out for each other. I wish that it wasn't so. I think that when you're with your friends, that everybody got vaccinated, or you just, you know, you feel like they haven't been around other people that might be carrying something, I think that you're safe to be with them. Well, let's hope so. Especially during this holiday that's coming up. We have a Passover coming up, and we also have Easter coming up, and the folk, and then I think Ramadan is coming up. So all of these different holidays are coming up right now, where people are going to gather together and try to be with one another. But let's try to, as best as we can, to stay in a safe way. Now let's see if I can remember, folks. My hands are not quite what they used to be. I can't pick up with this hand. I only can pick up with that hand. And I got this stool here to help me sit down so that the banjo can rest in my lap, because I can't hold it. But I've been playing some songs again, but only capoed way up here. See, I'm healing fret by fret. Now I might be able to get here, but I'm really not sure yet. Everybody said, don't do it, Rick. It's too early. Okay, so I'm back here again. It's weird, isn't it? Shake that little could see that some, even doing this that I used to do, like so easy. It's like, oh. But one of the things that I thought was really kind of important too is that I know that none of us are getting any younger. And unfortunately, our body parts kind of fail. And, a lot of times here, on Facebook and things like that, everybody just tells you all the good things in life that are going on and shows you happy pictures of puppies and cats and everybody's smiling. And I thought it was important to kind of walk you through this part of my life together, because there might come a time when something happens with you. And I want you to know that you can get through it, that we can get through it. It's not going to be easy. No, there's going to be pain, and there's going to be, a lot of hard work to recover. It's been 8 weeks since I had my surgery now, and I'm still working at it. I'm doing really, really good, but I've got a ways to go. I have gigs coming up with the Folk Talk Trio. We're going to be doing gigs in June, so I have to get better by June. Hopefully, play in more keys than just right here, because that's all I can do right now. So, folks, I hope you've had a good time today. I hope you enjoyed the story about Vashava and about the mermaid. About the mermaid. So until next week, this is Rik Palieri in the hills of Vermont. I'll just play it one more time. No banjo spinning this time. See you next week. All right. Bye-bye.